Hi, Joe Cerrone. Welcome to CAD 117 Intermediate AutoCAD in our weekly Zoom meeting. This week, we're releasing the midterm practice exam. And the practice exam is a good way to get ready for the exam. And it's also a good way for us to be able to, not so much the practice, but the actual exam, to be able to verify everybody is who they say they are and is doing the work. So it's a necessary requirement in these virtual classrooms. And so as we're getting prepared for that, let me go through that. So there's a midterm practice exam available in D2L in quizzes and exams. And so you can find that exam right here. And I'll show you that in a minute. The exam is taken from the chapters in the Technical Drawing 101 book. And we are using the 3D book as well, but the main focus that we've been using is through the Technical Drawing book because we want to get everybody to understand the standards for drafting and whether the standards are mechanical or architectural or civil or any other area. The book does a good job of standardizing things like dimension styles and drawing techniques. So the actual midterm will be available on Monday the 5th through Wednesday the 14th. And so there's plenty of time to take this exam. We will use the Honor Lock system, which is a pay for service. And so we recommend you pay the $11 for unlimited testing per semester. We will have a final exam also, and if you pay per exam, you'll pay more, but it's up to you how you want to work with that. If you click on the link to Honor Lock, you can go through. They have excellent technical support, and they'll tell you how you can go and do that. And like I say, you have plenty of time to do that. So if you try it on the 5th and it doesn't work, try the technical support through Honor Lock, and then you can always ping Al and I with an instant message or an email. So the midterm exam will consist of two parts. The quiz, which is 100 points, and it's textbook questions. And the questions are from the chapters at the end of the Technical Drawing 101 book. And then there will be a hands-on exam, and you'll be able to choose either an architectural or a mechanical drawing. If we want to take a look at that, we can go into the quizzes and exams. And then here's our practice midterm. And so if I click on this, now my view is going to be a little bit different than yours. So it's just the way it is, the way that this D2L system is set up. And so if we look at some of these questions, so for example, in which field must the drafter be familiar with floor plans, elevation, and construction details? And so most of the questions, I shouldn't say most of them, but the questions are fill in the blank and multiple choice and choosing. And so they're very similar to the way the textbook is set up, but this would be architectural. So you'd say architectural drafters need to be familiar with those techniques. And then if we look at some of the other questions, like a drafter who divides her duties between mechanical drafting and electronic drafting is known as a electromechanical drafter. And so these questions are taken from the technical drawing book. And so let me see if I can find this. And so if I bring my other web browser here, and then I hover over these, one, and of course it's giving me a hard time with this. And so let me just take a quick look in my, well, let's just go back here. I'll just get it again. The hardest part about teaching the courses in the pandemic is just keeping track where everything goes. It just kind of seems to disappear every once in a while. But as we go through, here's our learning objectives. And just from a standpoint of running things by the book, the textbook has useful information. And so as we go through and we We look at it, if you've never had a technical drawing course, this book does a good job of getting you familiarized with the process. And the first chapter goes through and it just talks about careers in technical drafting, electronic, civil, process and piping. What are the qualities people look for? Because when you get down to it, it's a different world out there. If you want to get paid a specific wage, you want to have those technical skills that get you in the door. And so as we look at the way that the questions are, and so here's where the chapter review questions are. And so American Institute of Architects, Society of Mechanical Engineers, they have these CAD standards. And then, short answers to the questions and things like matching. Type of college degree held by most engineers and architects would be a bachelor's degree. Drafting field concerned with chemical plants and oil refineries would be process piping. And I realize you don't have the answers to this, and that's why there's the practice exam. If you take the practice exam and then you submit it, we will grade it. Now, if you don't see it graded quick enough, or you need to find out what the answers are, just ping us with an email. Elle and I are teaching 7 different classes, and sometimes we need a little bit of a nudge to just make sure that we get those things back to you and turned around quick enough. But this is where you'll see most of these questions coming from. And then if I look at some of these other chapters, let me see if I can find chapter 2. There we go. Chapter 2 was on multi-view drawing. And so we did a great project with this where we created these 2-dimensional drawings, and then we created them in 3D. And this does a great job of explaining how orthographic projection works. And when you get down to it, it's an old technique which originated with a pencil. And then we go through these American Society of Mechanical Engineering conventions, drafting standards. So when you get on the job, you have some experience as far as to why things are set up the way they are. And so we go through and we talk about orthographic drawing projection and the techniques to represent things like this bus in the front view, top view, bottom, right side. We use third angle projection. And so that's the standard with the way the views are laid out and where they're located. Everything lines up in the views, and so the tires will all line up, the mirrors will line up. So when you work in an engineering job and you have to go down on the shop floor, the guys that are welding up the bus frames, will have a drawing out there, and they will be, working with a pencil and a ruler, and they'll be checking your drawings. And your job will be to fix them because they never turn out right the first time. Architectural drawings goes through some of those same standards. And so the chapters have good content, and it's on you to go through and read those. And then it's my job to go through and evaluate you. So in the outline of topics, we have the chapters laid out for the readings. And then we really like to do the hands-on workshop type of approach. And so Elle and I feel people learn best by doing. And so we went through and we created all these little drawings of these small parts, and then we modeled them. And so that was chapter 2. Chapter 3 went through traditional drafting techniques, which we really don't use so much. We have drafting tables in the Skokie campus. When we built in 2005, the guys wanted them in there, but we really don't use them much. The tables are really used more for assembly of 3D printed things nowadays. And so the field changes. It's probably more expensive to try to buy a drafting table and an arm than it is to go and get a computer, a laptop, and the software nowadays. Same thing with the pencils. But we really do want to go through and cover that, because you will work for somebody and you'll go down into the drafting room and they'll have all these old pencil drawings from the 70s. And it might be faster for you to just go and take a pencil out and make updates to the drawing than to redraw all those things on CAD. And part of those techniques would be being able to work with scales and being able to work and read drawings. And then as we get to the end of the chapters, we have more of these review questions and some of these assignments. And we've kind of converted them over to CAD, but the techniques carry through and give us valuable knowledge. Chapter 4, CAD, Computer Aided Design Basics. And this we're kind of doing, you just learn by doing, being able to open up the CAD software, being able to work with limits, layers, line types. You'll see this a lot. I clicked on some link today and I'm afraid to fix it until I get a day when I don't have to teach classes. So you'll see it pop up again, but it's what it is. And so the chapters are good. You know, this one goes through creating that floor plan for the cottage. And as we go through, a lot of these are project driven. And so as we go through, let me just kind of zip down here. We did these mechanical assignments, and then we did these architectural assignments. And then if we look toward the end of the chapter, you know, here's our projects. And so we have both mechanical and architectural projects. And then there's questions at the end of the chapters to evaluate our knowledge. Dimensioning mechanical drawings. This is a very good chapter because at the end of the chapter, it goes through how to set up dimension styles. And so this chapter, rather than go through all the pages, we'll just look at the objectives, I think. Location and size dimensions. Terminology. You need to talk with the right vocabulary or speak with the right vocabulary. ASME sets the standards, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. And so, you know, these are the standards that the guys in the shop follow, and this is what will get your parts rejected if you don't follow them. Do's and don'ts of drafting, being able to work with these other standards, dimensioning processes and practices, modifying and creating these different dimension styles. And then the same for architectural drawings. As we go through, architectural drawings tend to be more artistic in nature, and AutoCAD is a great tool. In all the years I've been working for Oakton, we've always received any building, like we do a lot of remodeling, and when the campus reopens, you'll kind of see that. But they go through and they remodel these labs, and they'll vet the floor plans through the instructors, myself. And so we went through and did the analysis for the build for the campus in 2005. And the drawings were on AutoCAD. They showed the data cabling, they showed the location of the projectors, the seats, and they're always needing modifications because nothing ever turns out the way it looks on paper. And so being able to understand the process for architectural drawings is good. And that's essentially what we've done here. We'll go through how to create architectural dimension styles. And then if we look at chapter, this is the 3D book chapter. And these are just some techniques. And get to the right frame here. Working with solid models. And then sweeps and lofts. And then working with these mechanical projects like we're doing with this toe stop assembly. And it looks like people need a little bit more time on the toe stop assembly. So I'll extend that project a week. Let me go and do that really quick right now under assignments. And that was, it's going to be the one that's due today, module 7. And I'll just push that back a week so that people don't have to worry about it. So we'll change the due date here to next week at 11:30 p.m. And you see that updated in the outline of topics. So with that, module 7 has been pushed back a little bit. We've talked about the midterm exam and how to take that. Take the practice exam. You don't have to ace it, but you can prepare yourself for it because it is a significant amount of points for the course. And it's a good benchmark. If you want an A in the course, then do the work and go through and read the chapters and understand the knowledge. And our philosophy has been very workshop orientated, where if you're good at it, you shouldn't have a problem getting a B. But if you want to get an excellent grade, then you have to do excellent work, which means doing well on the exams. All right. So with that, we can go through and we can start to review our module 7. I'm going to stop the Zoom recording, and then I will post that information for you. And we'll go and start to look at our module 7 for tonight's class.